제 전부 저던 힘이죠. 오늘 뭐는 전부 가게다 아그러다는 전도 실물도 또 나도 제잖아 기좀 사람의 저러 저기 장근서 저거 특기 선로 열라면 이제 본조장로 소란 공기 도반 보러 신지로
The supreme, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter in a billion eons. Now I see it, hear it, receive it, and capture it. I vow to attain the true meaning of the Tathagata. In order to liberate all sentient beings, let us generate the supreme bodhicitta.
Well, in terms of the book, A Journey to the West, it's been reprinted, and I think those of you who are currently here, if you can get a hard copy of it, that would be really great. And for people who come later and maybe we don't have enough copies, if we have enough copies, then you should try to get them. This time, because there are different Sangha members who come to Larangar, and you can just get the books, and I'll pay for those books. The second reprint is not as good as the previous version, but I think it's still the quality is adequate. Those of you who wish to get more copies for the others, if you can't receive extra copies, that's fine, because later I'm sure we'll have more opportunities. Many people really wish to receive these books because though it's heavier, it is full of pithy instructions too. The English version and the other copies that's printed outside are heavier than the ones that we currently have. The ones, I think people from abroad usually prefer the heavier books because maybe they feel that more blessings are infused in the book as well. But the Asians are probably more lazier. When we were printing the Larangar chant book, people kept on telling me the lighter, the better. Now let's get into the actual class of A Journey to the West. We're currently speaking and we're currently learning the teachings taught by Phuntsok Rinpoche at Napa Valley. Phuntsok Rinpoche taught for 11 days over there, and he taught on Chetsun Nyingtig. And currently we're studying the preliminary part. This is such a profound teaching, and even the preliminary teachings are still really profound and really forbidden usually for the great masters of the past to be given to the audience without completion of their nunjo practices. So for those of you, I think majority of you sitting here have already received the Mahaati empowerment, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But for those of you who have not completed your nunjo practices, you should really try your best to finish it. Now let's look at the teaching. Phuntsok Rinpoche said that as for the second subdivision, the pithy instruction for actual practice, because the teaching system of this cycle is to impart the oral instruction. In the empowerments, well, I therefore explained the content of this section during the empowerment in the morning. Well, when Phuntsok Rinpoche gave the empowerment at New York, as well as at Napa Valley, he indeed followed this approach. He didn't explain too much in detail because I've read the transcripts of the actual empowerment, and because the text itself is not that brief. Therefore, at times of giving empowerment and the actual pithy instructions, it is basically similar. And then he continued to say, actually, when it comes to receiving empowerment or practicing pithy instruction, there is no difference in terms of first step. Generally speaking, the first step is to give rise to genuine mind of renunciation and detach yourself from whatever you're attached attached to in samsara. To cultivate such a mindset, there are two teaching approaches, the tradition of Padmasambhava and that of Pandita Vimalamitra, respectively. Well, Padmasambhava and Vimalamitra, there are the two ways of approach the teachings. These are the two approaches. And according to Padmasambhava, this tradition, a practitioner would contemplate the rarity of a human existence endowed with the freedoms and advantages and the impermanence of life, to eradicate attachment to this life and reflect deeply on the infallibility of the karmic law of cause and effect and defects of samsara, to uproot attachment to the next life. These kinds of preliminary teachings are also clearly elucidated in both Longchenpa's commentary on resting the mind as well as Yuntenzo teaching given by Jimmy Limpa. Well, talking about Yuntenzo, I really kept on feeling it's such a pity not to continue with the translation of it after 2 chapters, but it's really too difficult. At the same time, while not continue to translating it, I feel just as if I have left a lovely child in the wild and not continue with caring for it. However, translating it is really way too difficult, and it's been putting a pressure on me. This morning, went out to take a walk and then had some rice noodles, and for some reason I kept on feeling my stomach is very uncomfortable. And then while feeling really uncomfortable, I thought that it's probably the best not having the translation task of Yuntenzo. Otherwise, if I were to translate it on top of that, I have to give teachings on Shrangama Sutra, and some of the Shrangama Sutra's text is really difficult, and I have to look into many of the words and so on. So it would be even more stressful to me. Well, so tomorrow I'm not going to have the rice noodle at the same place, and I think right now I'm leading a very interesting life, living in this world as a beggar or as a wanderer. In Tibet, we say that wherever the beggar dies, his cane also rottens there. So as a monastic, wherever we die or live, it doesn't really matter, or how we die or live doesn't really matter. When we propagate the Dharma teachings, when we practice, and all of that, we don't necessarily have to hold on to circumstances to have those kinds of events. Rather, whatever happens would be fine. So let us continue with the text. Well, the teaching tradition of Vimalamitra follows the sacred intent of wish-fulfilling jewel of the copper syllables and provides 7 methods of training the minds. When interpreting the hidden meaning of this teaching of Nation Longchenpa's Lama Nyingtig takes a slightly different approach from what is expounded in the 3 sections of this teaching of the great Chetsun. In terms of the extensive and the brief explanation of the instructions, I compared both of the texts, but there are not much of a difference. So if you have time, I really hope that within this holiday you can then contemplate upon the 7 instructions. All of you need to put the time to contemplate upon it. And then if you wish to extend your knowledge even more, then Longchenpa also included the 7 types of instructions within Lama Nyingtig. Ponzo Rinpoche also gives teachings on it. Longchenpa also gives teachings on it. And during the time of all of us studying it together, if you can look into the teachings and then try your best to study, then you will be able to receive the blessings. And you'll probably read more into it. You'll be able to understand the profound understanding. You'll get the profound understanding from the text. But maybe afterwards you won't be able to get it anymore. That is the power of the blessing of of receiving the teachings at the moment. To give you an example, when you are buying, shopping, and when there is currently a sale going on, you should get what you wish for at that moment. Otherwise, the sale would be gone and you won't be able to get it anymore. So now it is that we're having a sale. So we're having this Dharma teaching. Currently, we're having this such a great opportunity that you should read into it, because otherwise you won't be able to receive the blessings afterwards. So I really wish that those of you who had received the empowerment of Lama Nyingtig, you can look into each of the introductions and the guidances, and then to practice upon it during the retreat or during your holidays. Now, the first instruction, the first mind training, all compounded phenomena are impermanent, like water bubbles. On the very day, Pansukh Rinpoche only played the recording, and then he continued to expound the teaching fluently. While the recording was recorded by Chikme Rinzin Khenpo, I could also do it, but I was a bit lazy. On top of it, I think it would be better for him to record it as well. And then this means whatever conditioned phenomena arise from causes and conditions, they are without exception of the nature of impermanence. First of all, think about the outer universe in which sentient beings dwell. Although that which forms our world amount to Meru, the 4 great continents, the 8 subcontinents, and the ring of iron mountains appear to be grand, firm, and solid. They will someday be engulfed in the 7 stages of fire and 1 of flood. In the end, the whole universe will become an empty space with nothing left. Considering this, the outer universe is impermanent. When you reflect on sentient beings that dwell in the universe, you will find they are also impermanent. For example, here in the human world, there are many universal monarchs who had reached the very pinnacle of power and material wealth. Also, in the Holy Land of India, there appeared many great and influential kings, such as the 3 Palas, 37 Chandras, and many others. However, they all disappeared from the world, and now even their names are unheard of. Therefore, the lords of sentient beings are impermanent by nature. Moreover, think about the fact that the Buddha of the past, like Prakuchanda and Kanakamuni and Kashyapa, all entered into Parinirvana. And our root teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, who possessed great loving kindness, compassion, and skillful means to benefit sentient beings, and his inconceivably great noble retinue of bodhisattvas, Shravakas, and Pratika Buddhas all passed into Nirvana, one after another, leaving only their teachings for the degenerated time. So even the noble beings cannot exist forever in this world. When you think about it, you will see that, for example, the great masters, Pansukh Rinpoche and Lama Achu and Pena Rinpoche, as well as Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, all of those great masters, those noble ones, also passed into Parinirvana as well. So we have to generate the mind of impermanence, the confidence in such understanding. If you ponder on the passing of time, you will see that time is also impermanent. At the beginning of the Aeon is the Satya Yuga, age of perfection. Then follows the Treta Yuga, the age of possessing 3, and then the Dvapara Yuga, age of possessing 2, as well as the Kali Yuga, age of strife. None of these ages endures forever, and all of them have gone and will pass one after another. Our current time is also the same, which passes by with the successive alternation of the 4 seasons, from summer to autumn, autumn to winter, winter to spring, spring to summer. Currently, we are studying in the winter, all of us are striving to study as much as possible. In winter, it is rather very cold. You are at a place where the temperature is minus 20 Celsius, and I am currently at a place that is of the temperature of 20 Celsius. We have about 40 Celsius difference between us, but we're still communicating and studying as such. You can probably feel that. But of course, I am speaking and teaching only in front of the presence of an old monk, and sometimes I do feel a bit lonesome. That being said, there is a blurry boundary between truth and false. Because of the technology, we are sharing such teachings at the same time, and you can see me, I can also see you. It is really of not much of a difference than when I was giving teachings on a Dharma throne. So by relying on technology, of course, I'm very grateful to all of you who had contributed to creating such causes and conditions so that we can still share the Mahayana teaching. This is such a wonderful, auspicious, dependent arising. This is such an auspicious opportunity as well. So because of all of your contribution and effort, we can still share the wonderful Mahayana Dharma teachings. And it's very rare, and we should cherish it. And then, to be more specific, the 4 times of the day, this morning, now this is afternoon, this is evening, and after midnight, will not persist either. If you even subtly observe the passage of time, everything keeps changing moment by moment, and nothing lasts for long. Well, I think in the Yuntenzo, Jime Rinpa said that the fastest in this world are the celestial beings of sun and moon, and those are the fastest. And the fastest, the ones that's faster than them are the depletion of the sentient beings of life. They're faster than wind and faster than anything that we can imagine. So there is nothing that could persist or could last for long. Similar to the example of the outer universe and the inner inhabitants being permanent, your own fragile body are certainly not long-lasting and indestructible. Such being the case, you must evoke a firm determination and evolve and resolve to engage in virtuous practice as soon as possible. To achieve that, it is particular necessity that you develop a sense of impermanence by reflecting on your own existence. The way of reflecting is to observe that death is certain, the time of death is uncertain, and that at the time of death, only the Dharma can help you. You must train in the sense of impermanence from the perspective of these 3 points. You should try your best to contemplate these 3 again and again. The next one is death is certain, means that everyone in this world will die in the end, and that no one can survive death. Disregarding religious followers of scientists, any normal people knows this simple fact that he or she will die. This point is clear to everyone. Such being the case, what you need to carefully examine is the fact that the time of death is uncertain. The time of death is uncertain teaches that all of you present here, no matter who you are, need to develop the idea in your mind that I will certainly die, but I don't know when. Without this concept, you will never achieve real accomplishment in Dharma practice, but will be carried away by all sorts of trivial distractions in this life. Thinking about all the generations of people who have come into the world, the time of all their death was uncertain. Regarding those who were born 100 years ago, except a few, most have passed away. In the same logic, you are surely not going to survive forever. Generally speaking, all people living in this world, except for a few, will quite possibly depart this life after 100 years. Well, I just saw the news that last year the numbers of population in this world just passed 8 billion. So now we have 8 billion people. After 100 years, other than just very few exceptions, majority of people of this 8 billion will pass, will die after 100 years. Within 100 years, this is quite terrifying when you think about it. 8 billion people will die within 100 years.
一般来说，世界上所有的人，除了1、2个。对，包括我们现场的人，大部分的
This includes all of us present here, and nearly all of us will be gone 100 years from now. If you think about your relatives and friends who were with you when you were young, you will find that the majority of them have entered their next lives. Just like them, you will die too, probably very soon. Not only that, for those of you present today, it is hard to say whether you will be alive this time next year, including all of us who are listening to this class right now who are present here. It is quite possible that many of you will die this year, and no one can assure that death will only strike the old, the young, and the children are also included. The thing is that no one can say that one person will die at a certain time but not another. Taking all factors into consideration, you can see that the next life is not that far away. You're certain to die, and you are not sure whether you can survive next month or even tomorrow. Death is just around the corner. Well, Ponshu Rinpoche is speaking rather very sharply over here, so you should definitely contemplate upon it. Recently, a Khenpo from Larongar went to Jago and gave Dharma teachings to the locals. One of the locals also went there to receive the Dharma teachings. The Khenpo was giving teachings on impermanence and then also give some precepts. During the precepts ceremony, the local didn't feel well, and then he left first and told his wife that he's going to take a rest because he's not feeling well. And then when his wife, after taking the precepts and returned home, she saw that he had already died in his bed. So death is so impermanent and could come at any moment. Whenever we see people dying, we feel that, wow, how could this person die? And those kinds of things, when those kinds of deaths happen, we need to understand that all of us will eventually die. We have to generate such certainty in understanding that. At the time of death, only Dharma can help you. Means that upon death, all advantages like wealth, possessions, powers, and then status and good looks are of no use. Think about the power and the status. Upon death, even the great emperors who rule the entire world will have to enter the next life alone by themselves, unable to take anyone to accompany them at all. The same applies to wealth and possessions. Even if a person owes all the wealth of the world, when death arrives, he or she cannot even take a mouthful of food. When we think of the kinds of people with lots of wealth, such as Zuckerberg, Jack Ma, and those kinds of people of great wealth, do they really contemplate upon death? Whenever I attended those kinds of forums of a businessman, of people of great wealth, I usually would make observation of them and think to myself, they don't really contemplate up on the time of death at all. Now that I probably shouldn't talk too much about Jack Ma. Those kinds of people I made reference to in the past. Some of them went up and some of them went down. People of noble family, of really high disposition or of beautiful appearances, of wealth, and of various kinds of high status and so on. When they look at themselves, they look at their cars and their status, and they feel that they're just like celestial beings living their life in heaven. They like to look at mirrors during the day and dwell in their good looks. So, however, it doesn't matter what kinds of advantages that you have at the present moment, at time of death, high status, beautiful appearances, and the like will not accompany you at all, and you will have to go to the next life only with your positive and negative karma. At that time, what is certainly beneficial is the positive karma you have accumulated, whereas the negative deeds you have done will certainly bring you harm. Therefore, now that you enjoy the freedom to practice the Dharma, you must expend all your efforts to forsake the unwholesome deeds and engage in wholesome deeds. It is important that you make such determination and act accordingly in body and speech. Well, I really hope that every one of you will repeatedly contemplate upon this tonight with the combination of making reference to the preliminary teachings given by Lung Chenpa as well. In this way, the power of your practice will increase, and all kinds of distractions in this world will not distract you anymore, and you won't have that much of grasping anymore. So if you can supplicate to Phuntsok Rinpoche and then practice upon it, I'm sure you will be able to generate a true understanding of impermanence and bodhicitta.